Hey, listen, it's been a while. I'm back again, Athletes Forum Podcast. I'm excited to talk to this guest, Keegan McCormack, who had a little bit of an interesting journey in the European League of Football this past year. Let's chop it over with him, kind of see how everything unfolded, and really just what happened.
We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work.
All right, as I mentioned, I know it's been a while. I know everyone's been asking me where I've been, but I'm back. I'm back in the mix. Athletes Forum Podcast, back in action. And as I already talked about, I'm excited to get this next guest on, right? Someone who had a stint in the ELF, a little bit of an interesting one, right? But we're here to talk about it, kind of see what he's been up to, kind of what happened with his experience out there. But without further ado, I'll just let the man talk. So Keegan, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
What's good, man? How y'all doing?
Good, man. Can't complain. Keegan McCormack, quarterback, played for Cologne, played for my Helvetic Mercenaries, but that's a story for another day. We're not here to dive into that. We're here to talk about Keegan and his experience. I guess, obviously, a lot's been documented, but before we get into all that, like, how did this even come about? How did you, one, get to Europe, started playing in Europe? How the call went when you got the call from Cologne to even play for the first time, right? I'm sure a lot of people want to dive into that, but I want to touch base on like how did we even get to like being able to join the ELF and stuff like that?
I back in 2024, when I came out of college, I found Munster Blackhawks was the team that found me. And I got my time with them. Played a really good season. Had a great season actually. It's just I wanted to get higher than the third league. I felt like it was just it's a fun place to be, but I wanted to be at the top. And I would always see the ELF, and it was definitely hard to get a hold of teams. But I think that's another thing I would say is like a lot of teams. I don't even know if it's weird how they evaluate talent, but I would say like yeah, that's what I was trying to get into. And then I actually got the call late from Cologne because the quarterback that was there before me, he had got hurt or there were some issues with him. So they called me late, and that's where the problem started, I guess. But yeah.
Now we talk about evaluating talent, right? I want to give a shout out to my guy Matt Bresenton, who is the king of evaluating talent over there. I want to make sure he gets his due diligence. But let's talk about Cologne, man. Obviously, it's an interesting one, right? This is one of the founding fathers, one of the original eights, one of the teams that had a great reputation, at least in the first 2 years, and things started to dial a certain different direction. Obviously, change of ownership. I know a lot of things weren't run according to plan even before this year. I know it was up in the air if they were even going to have a team, right? They didn't announce their first signing until I think January, right? So there were a lot of like, what's Cologne going to do? And you start seeing how the team was formed. Good that we at least had a team, but again, the evaluation and how everything came about, it didn't really seem like as a team, everything was being put in place for a team to have success, to be put in the right, circumstances, right? I know Coach Jay Leinhart, over there, who was there from the beginning, now head coach. But you get the call, right? Jeremy Musa is the quarterback we're talking about. He doesn't even play week one because of whatever had happened. You get the call, they bring you in, you start coming in. I believe it might have been that Berlin game or the next game after that, right? So kind of talk to me about like, what were the conversations like before joining the team? What was the expectations? What was promised and maybe not delivered? Like, did you know exactly from those conversations what you were walking into?
Man, honestly, I think the coaches of Cologne kind of tried to prepare me a little bit for what it was. Now, I wasn't fully prepared for like, everything that happened. I'm sure it's well documented how the season went, but no, I mean, I was aware that hey, winning games there was probably not going to happen the first year. Just because we had a lot of, seventh league players, sixth league players playing in the ELF. They built the team last minute, and I was made aware of that. They, like you said, they finally got the go ahead to have a team late. So, it was a lot of things that I was aware of. But now I will say, like, money and housing not being taken care of, I definitely was not aware of that. But the on the field stuff, I kind of had a clue was coming. Just seeing the way practices were ran, seeing the way that the standard just wasn't there. and it was just obvious from day one that it was going to be an issue. But I also looked at it as, hey, it's an opportunity to,
Yep.
do the most with the least around you. I think that kind of helps show your abilities if you can do a lot with nothing around you. But yeah, it just didn't go as planned.
No, absolutely. And watching from afar, right? You could kind of see like, all right, like clearly some things aren't going right over there, right? Respect to the players, the coaches, who at least try to make an effort to play, but it was very easily seen that, the talent wasn't there, at least at the ELF level, the talent
Yeah.
wasn't there. And you started questioning what was going on behind the scenes. Obviously, we're hearing your story now. We heard Jay Leinhart's story postseason in regards to like ownership and stuff like that. So it's a shame that obviously it had to come to that. When you joined the team, talk a little bit about like what was your perception of like the culture? Where do you feel like things started to go wrong?
Man, there's it was wrong in a lot of spots, man. I'd say the culture. So we had a DB coach there. Very, very good DB coach. He kind of let me know a little bit before I got there how it was gonna be. And he had a good, like, he set the tone for his DBs pretty well. I mean, it was a great culture in the DB room in terms of like setting the tone. I mean, he was giving certain Americans he didn't get to recruit the way he wanted to, so that's kind of why it happened the way it did. But as an offense, yeah, there just was no culture. There was no like, the playbook was everywhere. It was just, it's like there's no scheme. It's just random plays thrown in here and there. There's no scheme to it. It was, and again, we had a first year OC.
Yeah,
He was a great player in the league. I've seen his film. I've seen him play. He's one of the greatest wide receivers I think Cologne has ever had. To be honest, I also do stand by the thing of, not all players need to coach. So, but I think that I think that he did what he could with what he had, and it's just hard to build a culture when a lot of the guys come from a league of like, hey, you can smoke cigarettes and eat cupcakes at halftime. I mean, we had guys doing that during our games, and it's hard to it's hard to I think it's hard to build a culture when you only have a couple of guys that really want to win, and the other guys are like, "Wow, we're just lucky to be in the ELF." Like everybody needed to feel like they belong, and I just don't think we had that.
no, absolutely. At what point was it a practice? Was it a meeting? Was it even a game? Like, at what point did you realize like maybe you were, or maybe not you, maybe the team, the players were a little over their head, or maybe you came to the conclusion like, all right, like clearly, clearly something is wrong in the operation of
Yeah.
running the organization. At what point did you guys realize that?
I would say this is gonna sound crazy. I say week three.
Week three.
Yeah, no, week three
Week
for sure.
three.
Like if you would have just came to our practices week one, you would have had a clue that something was wrong. But like,
Yeah,
yeah, week three is when I kind of realized, okay, look, the offensive scheme is not changing. It's not here to really benefit. Like typically, you build around what you have, and it just wasn't built around what we have. It was more like, okay, we're gonna do this because this is the scheme. I think you just have to adapt. So not seeing anybody adapt or not seeing anything adapted for the players, and also just like, when you see coaches, not getting paid and things like that, again, shout out to the coaches for continuing to show up.
yeah,
I think it would have been easier for them to quit, but they kept showing up, and that seeing them go through that, knowing that my coach isn't getting paid, that means I know I'm not going to get paid. So
yeah,
um, that's kind of when I saw the wheels falling off. But again, I think the team did a good job of sticking together as much as they could, just
yeah.
because there was a lot of guys in some bad situations. So I'm proud of how they held it up.
No, absolutely. And like, I mean, God bless you. God bless the coaches. Like, if I don't get paid, I ain't working.
Man,
Right?
man.
But listen, I don't. Without being there, I can't really understand. So I get it. But for me, like, if I don't get paid, so I can't work. I can't work. So
Yeah,
kudos to you guys for obviously pushing through. It was a tough circumstance. It was tough watching it from afar. And God bless Coach Jay for sticking it through the
mhm,
end of the season from a coaching perspective. Most coaches would have left. We saw
yeah,
what happened in Hamburg, whatever the situation was, and their coach left even before the season started. Some coaches would have not even dealt with that. So, you know, obviously, you guys went through some hard times, and maybe that can be an understatement. All right. Let me ask you this: as a player, hell, even as a human being, even as a fan of the locker room, Athletes Forum podcast, what do you feel like you learned from that God forbid you're ever anything close to that you would do differently?
Man, I learned that not every opportunity is an opportunity. I think just
Respect.
understanding, like, there was a lot of harm done to a lot of players' reputation. In terms of like, okay, this might be like for me, it's my first year in the ELF, and that's the first showing I get to show every other team,
Yeah,
every other scout. And it looks bad. It doesn't look great, and it's one of those things that like now I have to next year go out to whatever team I'm on and prove like, hey, like this, I was a product of
yeah,
circumstance. It's not who I am. And I think a lot of the
yeah,
players on the Cologne team were very, very talented players. It just wasn't enough around them, whether it be coaching, whether it be, ownership around them to help them be at their best. So like, I think this made everybody understand, like, hey, like, don't just jump at certain opportunities just because it's in the highest league. Sometimes it's better to just take, maybe a GFL offer and go show what you can really do and wait till you find a team that's, financially set and has an owner that's set. Do your due diligence, check in on the program and things like that.
no, absolutely, and that's in every league. Every league, make sure you're doing your due diligence. Every league has a bad apple. And like you said, development, right? If there's one thing that we know from guys that played in Europe, including myself, is that it's a lot of it. It's not just about coming over there and being like the difference maker. It's about helping
Yeah.
develop players. So like being able to develop these guys, and that's something that they weren't getting. Now they got to take a step or two back just to take a couple steps forward.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so so I definitely understand in regards to like in that capacity, how that hurts like reputations and stuff. Do you think granted, it's an ELF is a mess right now, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got we got 10 teams going to the EFA. We still got some ELF teams. What's the ELF gonna do? ELF is a mess right now. So when I'm asking this question, I'm asking pre 2026 ELF from what we used to know as the ELF. Can a team survive in Cologne?
Man. I
Because
think
I'll give
go
you my
ahead.
personal opinion. I'll give you my personal opinion. So I think the biggest threat to Cologne is honestly the Ryan Fire coming into play.
Yeah.
You get a team with that organization run the way it's run, recruiting the way they recruit, bringing in the talent they are, and having the success they're having, and seeing right across the river, right, what's going on in Cologne. Like, yeah, it may have worked in NFL Europe days, but that's something totally different. I don't think a Cologne team can survive and be competitive in the ELF unless you got to do your due diligence and find like your homegrowns. Like you got to
Yeah.
find a Tyler Foster. You got to find a Christian Mackay. Both guys who just signed with Berlin. Like you got to find those types of guys and try to find. And but you know what? Let me re-ask this: if you were to take over Cologne, I'm not saying you're going to,
Yeah.
like, how would you go about turning that whole reputation around?
Honestly, your first hire needs to be Kalon. Kalon is our DB's coach. And I'm gonna make a bold statement that most of the players on the team should agree with. Kalon should have been our defensive coordinator from the start. He's
Yeah,
not
okay.
only a great player, he's actually one of those players who can transfer over to coaching.
Absolutely.
I played against him. I played against him as a coach, and it was always he just brings that competitive edge and knowledge. So like he coaches a lot of Germans right now, a lot of German homegrowns. And if you want to build Cologne up again, you need to get a coach that is one, respected in Cologne, and two,
Yep.
respected by the homegrowns. And he's somebody who, no matter what conversation I hear about him, it's always positive. It's always, hey, he's a great coach. Or it's always, hey, I'd like to play for him. So for my first hire, that would be it. I would go hire him as a D coordinator, which would bring me plenty of defensive homegrown
Yeah.
players. And then honestly, I think you got to go change ownership. Like this whole, I've seen Cologne's history of, hey, we'll keep the same owner, we'll just add another investor. No, you got to wipe the slate clean and go
Yeah.
get, to me, somebody who's who's more proven, and check their financial records to make sure they actually have that.
Yeah,
And
that
then
is huge.
100%. Then you would need a 3-year deal. You need time to actually like build the team. Now, I'm not saying Coach Jay should have got a 3-year deal. I'm just saying you gotta give time for these kind of things. And so yeah, for
Absolutely.
me, I go get Kaylon. I go get some, I go get some O linemen. I know that's at a premium in Europe. It's hard to find those. Yeah, there's a lot of size with not a lot of technique with it, but and then Coach Heidelberg, great offensive line coach.
Yeah.
We had him for a little bit. You got
One
to
of the
run the ball.
originals too.
I'm sorry.
One of the originals. He was there first year when they had Madre London, obviously
Yeah,
in ELF legend.
easily one of the best coaches I've ever been around. When he was on the team for the 2 weeks he was there, he had us running smoothly. We lost
Yeah,
him and we lost the whole thing. So yeah, it's go get that, and just again, it's about getting the OGs, people who are respected. You can't have a coaching staff that players don't respect, and when they lose respect for the coaches in week two, well,
over.
from then on out, it means nothing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Couple more questions here. Keegan McCormack, quarterback, former quarterback of Cologne Centurions and the Helvetic Mercenaries. Um, what was there any point during the season that you felt like leadership, ownership, investors, coaching, whoever it was, captains on the team? Was there any point in the season you felt like it could have been saved or it could have been turned around in Cologne?
Yes, definitely, most definitely. I think I, it's without letting out too much info.
Sure.
I think captain wise, like Austin Osborne, he's clear cut leader of that team.
Yeah.
He did everything in his power to hold that together. He's to me the standard of what a professional is, and I'm glad. And he showed me in my first year of the ELF like how to really truly like be a professional. But
Yeah.
there's not. We only had one Austin, and that's the problem. So we didn't
Yeah.
have one on defense that can really hold it together, and it became like everybody's playing for their own stats. So that way next year they can get a contract. And once that happens, it's JUCO from there. So now you're playing JUCO ball, and yeah, and it's yeah, you can't do that. You can't be JUCO players in the ELF and try to play for yourself. So I think it was savable around, like I said, week 2 or 3. It was definitely savable, but you know, you gotta remove pride from not only players but also coaching, and take the best teams I've been on, whether it be college or even over here, is just like, hey, we bounce suggestions off each other. Hey, coach, I'm out here. We don't have time to throw vertical routes. Let's cut it down to short. Or hey, coach, or coach telling me, hey, stay in the pocket longer. Like we just all, I don't think we all did a great job of removing our pride and just letting coaches coach and players play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's definitely a good point. And Austin, someone I definitely want to hopefully see. I think him and a couple other guys like you get a fair opportunity right from the beginning, go through a camp and stuff like that. So there's definitely some hopes there for you guys. Let's transition real quick. I got one question as it relates to my mercenaries, which again we don't have to dive too deep into it. I just want to know about your experience living in Switzerland.
Man, it's expensive. It's expensive as hell. Like y'all listen, if you're gonna have a team
I
in
played three
Switzerland,
years. I played 3 years in Switzerland, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Beautiful country, but the Franks be franking.
you can't get paid in euros and play
Yeah,
yeah, that doesn't work. But I will say, no, it was a great team. It's like coming from Cologne, anywhere was heaven. So you got to understand, like it was we actually had a playbook and a working offense. So I liked it there. The players were good. They cared about the game, but most of all, it was the coach. We had a coaching staff that really like they could
yeah.
not stand losing. They really wanted
That
to play.
coaching staff had a good reputation even before the whole Hartford thing. That coaching staff had a good reputation. A lot of the guys were liked and respected. Obviously, it didn't go their way, but that was definitely a coaching staff that I hope bounces back at some point. And we talk about redemption as well too.
Yeah, I don't understand how Helvetic isn't better than what they are, because
Oh man,
there's so much money out there. I don't understand how they couldn't get more players, but
let me give
yeah,
you the Spark Notes version because I didn't when I played the ELF wasn't there, but I played for the best team in Switzerland, the Cologne Broncos. There's no one on the ELF team. Let me take that back. In the 3 or 4 years Helvetic has been an ELF team, there's been one Cologne Bronco. Now maybe that's a distance thing. I don't know, but not being able to get some of the best talent in Switzerland definitely hurt, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not even just talking about them. Like they lost a lot of some of the best talent. Like you think about the Tim Haney's, John Fowles obviously retired, the Timothy the Schumers, right? YP who went to Madrid. Like Helvetic, in a weird way, has done a good job at getting or bringing back some of their either homegrowns or good players, but them not sticking, right?
Yeah.
And then you got to find somebody that can recruit, right? The biggest thing for Helvetic is they were never good up front. They always had a D that could compete, especially
Yeah.
year two when they were the guards, but they never had a good offensive line to protect the quarterback, and they never had their best players at the right time. Like if we would have had Milan Spiller a year early, right, that would have been something different, right? There's a lot more I could dive into. It hits a little home, right, for me who's playing in Switzerland, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think what the ELF should have did, in my opinion, was just call Kalanda from the beginning and
Yeah.
find out if there was a way to make that work, because you already have a good, solid, homegrown foundation there, and then
Yeah.
now you just trickle in, some other guys. That's just my personal opinion, though. So,
And no,
like I
I
said,
mean, I can agree with that. I can agree with that. And I also think, this is a hot take, I guess, as well. I've said it a couple times, but the GFL needs to be what Germany puts their money into and treat it like the ELF. I don't think Germany needs to reach
okay,
outside. I think the GFL has been around for so long and it's such a great structure and there's such
yeah,
great football there. The GFL needs to be like just get all the German players back to the GFL, and I think that league would be absolutely amazing.
no, that would definitely be something. And I never thought of it like that. And I know those two have been bickering back and forth, GFL, ELF, but already expanding on the GFL, what they have. They might have missed the opportunity, but maybe there's a window now. It depends if they can beat the EFA to it. So, we'll see what happens, man. But hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. Before we let you go, right? Talk to me about what excites you in the future. What do you got going on?
Man, no, I gotta say this. So I was at the UFL showcase for the one in Europe, and basically, just throwing in front of, the Paris Musketeers coaches, the Madrid Bravos coaches, things like that, the biggest thing I want to say is in what they told me is like, hey, the circumstance that we were in. So like I'm speaking more to my players in Cologne. Don't let that really define you. Everybody around the league knows how bad the situation was. So I
Mhm.
don't think you'll be judged too harshly on what kind of stats and film you put up from there. Like just keep plugging away and like you'll get your opportunities because I'm still out here getting, opportunities for UFL, other teams, and it's just like people already know, so don't stress it too much. But they do say once I tell them I play for Cologne, it's always like a dang, what happened, man? What happened? I gotta explain it all over again. I'm tired of explaining, man. I gotta get that off my resume. So yeah, man.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you. Appreciate you chopping up. Appreciate you being my first interview, first podcast, first guest back. I took a little
Sure.
bit break after the ELF, but now we're here to talk some ball. So I appreciate you, man. This won't be the last time we chop it up.